Every single time you shop online, you're playing this invisible game. It's true. On one side, you've got companies with these powerful algorithms trying to figure out the absolute most they can get you to pay. And on the other side, well, there's you, just trying to get the best deal possible. Today, we're diving into how this battle of wits actually works, and we're going to uncover how your attempts to win just might, be making you lose. And look, it all kicks off with stories just like this one from TikTok. I'm sure you've heard of these kinds of tricks, right? How to get cheaper flights or a less expensive Uber. But these aren't just clever little life hacks. They're a direct response to a massive shift in how prices are set. They reveal this hidden battle that's going on over your data, and ultimately, over your money. So, what's really going on here? At its core, this whole thing is a game of what economists call price discrimination. For the rest of us, that just means instead of one price for everybody, companies are trying to charge each person a different price for the exact same product. It feels like every item out there has an invisible, constantly shifting price tag. Yeah, this is all powered by one big idea: personalized pricing. Companies are pouring, billions of dollars into big data to build a super detailed profile on you. They're tracking your habits, your location, even the device you're using, all to make an educated guess about that one thing you're desperately trying to hide, the absolute highest price you'd be willing to pay. And listen, this isn't just some abstract theory. It is happening all around us right now. Target's loyalty program, it uses your purchase history to send you custom-made coupons. Office Depot was even caught changing prices based on a customer's physical location. And there was that famous study that found Orbitz was showing more expensive hotels to people using Max, just assuming they had more cash to spend. And of course, Uber's surge pricing is basically this entire concept playing out in real time. So this really sets up the fundamental conflict, right? It's a game with two very, very different goals. The company's entire objective is to figure out exactly what you're willing to spend. And your goal? It's the complete opposite. Hide that information, or even better, trick them into thinking you're a total bargain hunter who's going to need a discount to buy. Now, you might be thinking the strategy for these companies is pretty simple. Just get more data. Always get more data. But the research we're digging into today reveals this fascinating dilemma where, believe it or not, that's not always the case. It raises this central question for these firms: is more data always better? Should they really try to track every single person if they could? The answer, well, it's way more complicated than you might think. Okay, so on the one hand, the benefit is super obvious. The more people you can identify, the more you can customize your prices, and of course, the more profit you can squeeze out. This is the whole promise of big data in a nutshell. But, and this is a huge but, there's a catch. The more a company watches you, the more you know you're being watched. And the second you realize they're using that data to charge you more, you have every reason in the world to put up a shield. To clear your cookies, use a different browser, or, try those Uber tricks we talked about. And this is what happens next. When people willing to pay a lot start faking their data to look like they're only willing to pay a little, the company's entire data set gets contaminated. The clear signals they thought they had, they just turn into noise. And all of a sudden, the data they spent millions on becomes totally unreliable, and their entire pricing strategy starts to crumble. Okay, so this brings us to probably the most counterintuitive part of this whole thing. We've established that we, as consumers, are fighting back. We're trying to beat the algorithm. And that seems like a clear win for us, right? Well, not so fast. Think about it. All those browser extensions, those privacy tools, all the articles teaching you how to game the system. Common sense tells us these have to be a good thing for us, for consumers. But are they really? Well, here's the paradox. The research shows that when the tools to trick the system get better and easier for everyone to use, consumers as a group can actually end up paying more, not less. I know, it makes no sense on the surface, but stick with me and I'll explain why. So how in the world does that even happen? Well, it's like a domino effect. First, it gets way easier to manipulate your data. Second, a whole flood of people who are willing to pay more start disguising themselves as low spenders. Third, and this is the absolute key, the firm isn't dumb. It sees that its low spender category is now full of fakers. So what does it do? It raises the price for that entire group. The result? Consumer surplus falls. That's just a fancy economic term for the value you get, the good deal you thought you were getting. And when it falls, it means we're all getting a worse deal collectively. So if this whole cat and mouse game can end up hurting everybody, is there a way out? Is there a solution? Turns out, the research points to something surprisingly simple, yet incredibly powerful? Transparency. All right, let's just imagine two different worlds for a second. In one world, the firm is totally secretive about how much data it's collecting. In the other, it's completely transparent, telling consumers exactly what it's tracking and why. In the first world, where the company is all secretive, we have to assume the worst, right? We assume they're watching everything. And this just kicks off a full-blown data arms race. The firm collects aggressively, we manipulate aggressively, and the data quality just tanks. It's a low-trust, super inefficient system for everyone involved. But when a firm is transparent, it can do something really powerful. It can build trust. It can say, look, this is the only data we're collecting. And by strategically choosing to collect less data, it gives us less of a reason to try and trick the system. It's basically like calling a truce in the data war. And the results are, honestly, they're stunning. This isn't some tiny compromise. It's that rare thing you almost never see, a win-win-win. Just look at the table. When firms disclose their data collection, they make more profit, consumers get a better deal, and overall economic welfare actually improves. Transparency really does work for everyone. Okay, so let's just boil this all down. What are the big takeaways? First, our individual efforts to trick the system, they can actually backfire and hurt all of us as a group. Second, for companies, chasing after more and more and more data isn't always the smartest path to profit. And finally, transparency isn't just about good ethics, it's just plain good business for everybody. And this leaves us with one last really big question to chew on. If transparency about data collection is clearly better for companies, for us as consumers, and for society as a whole, why isn't it the default? Why are we still stuck in this world of hidden tracking and data wars? That's something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.